Surprise! We're back, and do we have some things to fill you in on? After our last update in 2021, I had every intention of taking a maybe 2-month break and being back to making videos, but 2 months turned into 18 months, and we're back.
We're back.
We have a couple of announcements to make, but first I want to catch you up to present day. We spent a wonderful winter in the Bahamas in 2023. We spent most of our time in the Exumas before hopping up Eleuthera and back to the US. We then hightailed it north back to Maine. We haven't talked much about how we financially sustain our cruising here, and I may do a more in-depth video at some point, but we have primarily been living off savings, and Andy does a few hours of engineering consulting each week. We have always known that most likely our long-term plans would include breaks to go back to full-time work, and it was time for our first one. We hauled out Acadia in September and settled into life in the North Maine woods for the winter. I started working for my old company as a corporate educator, and Andy has significantly upped his hours. We have loved being home with my family, and our northern kid hearts have been filled up with some snow and snowmobiling. One of the other reasons that we needed to take a break from cruising is because I had some pretty concerning medical stuff going on that we needed to see some doctors about. Back in about December of 2022, I started having some pretty concerning GI symptoms. By May of 23, it was really getting to the point where it couldn't be ignored anymore, and I knew I needed a colonoscopy. But it took me almost a year from May to get one scheduled. 3 doctors, I basically ended up having to beg for it. But in March of this year, 2024, I had that colonoscopy and they found 4 polyps. And of those 4 polyps, one of them was cancer, which is not ideal, but we are extremely fortunate, and it was caught very early. They believe they removed all of it. And I have a great team of doctors, physically and mentally. I've been doing really well. And I have been told that we don't need to do any further treatments. So no radiation, no chemo, but I am going to have a very strict monitoring schedule for the next 2 or so years. And then it'll be not quite so strict, but still pretty regimented monitoring schedule for the next, it's going to be like basically a total of 5 years. Which leads us to the exciting announcement, which is that we bought a van.
Yes, we did. We bought a van.
We bought a van. We actually bought the van before we knew about my cancer. The plan was originally to convert it this spring, and then we were going to start traveling in it in hurricane season in 2025. But like everything, we decided to kind of go with the flow, and the flow is telling us that we need to do some land travels to make it easier for me to be back here in Maine every 3 to 4 months for the next couple years. This is not the end of cruising for us. It's just a pause. Acadia is on the hard, and we hope to be back to cruising next summer. But as always, we're flexible, so we don't know that for sure. But as of right now, that's the plan. So we're not selling the boat. Nothing crazy going on there. So what does that mean for broad reach travel? Well, we are going back to our roots. Some of our very first videos here on YouTube, don't go look too closely, they could be a little embarrassing, was our first van conversion, which was our first van conversion of our Chevy Express that we built in 2018.
Was it that long ago?
It was foreverly long ago.
Wow.
It was a wicked long time ago.
Yeah.
We're super excited to share with you some of the things that we learned from our first van build and that we'll be taking into this new van build. And we're also, there's a lot of crossover between boat DIY and van DIY, so we're excited to bring you along for that. So stay tuned. In the next few weeks, we're going to start in on van build videos. If you're here primarily for our cruising and boat DIY content, don't stress out, don't go anywhere. Once we are done with the van build and we have one big van trip, But once we're back from that, we're going to be switching gears back to boat projects. We've got some big projects planned for Acadia while she's on the hard, including a little bit of a galley refit. We're converting our pilot berth into some storage. We're re-rigging her. We are... what else?
Removing some underwater lights.
Oh, yes.
Some fiberglass action. So stay tuned for that.
We're just giving her a general, like, facelift. She just needs
Polish. Needs a little polish.
Yeah, she's been a full-time cruising boat for a couple years now. She just needs a little love, so we're gonna do that in the fall. So stay tuned for that. We're very excited to be sharing both our land and sea adventures with you all over the next few months. We have one final announcement, which is over this last winter, we launched our Broadway Travel store on our website. Right now, you can get our ICW planning workbook, both the digital and paper versions of that, to help you plan your ICW travels. But we are also going to be adding some new digital content to help with cruising. Some of our cruising logistics workbooks and spreadsheets and all of those things will be coming. And Andy has also been working on some really exciting boat products that we are hoping to have on the market soon. So stay tuned for those. We will be announcing those both here and on our Instagram page, which is where most of our real-time updates are. Highly recommend you go check us out over there. We are so excited to be back, and we are hoping to be on a semi-regular schedule, but I'm not going to promise anything. So,
but it won't be 18 months.
But it won't be 18 months before you see us again. That I can promise.
Promise you that.
We appreciate you being here, and we will see you next time.
Guess who's back?